We're back for another episode of the Byron BetSperts DFS Golf Show for this week's Zurich Classic. We've got myself, the Model Maniac on X, and my good friend Ron Klaas, who you can find at PGA Splits 101 over on that controversial platform over there owned by Elon Musk. Ron, what is going on at the Zurich Classic this week and in your life? I look like you pretty cozy. I hear you've been outside most of the morning.
Yeah, it's still chilly here. We're still waiting for it to warm up. This week is very different. We've got these teams, and there's some interesting angles this week as far as guys who have played together a bunch, and then you have some strangers, and then looking forward to kind of diving in here and seeing what value we can take from this board.
Let's go. As you know, I've gone nutsos and built a mini model of alternate shot optimization and all that jazz. So I've got some fun little showdown nuggets going into tomorrow. Sorry, beef stick coming back to the surface there in the middle of the show. Yeah, but let's speak about some beef sticks. We've got Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry at the top here with Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantley. Ron, I will be right off the top rope here. Team event, alternate shots, best ball shots, best ball round 1, round 3, alternate shots round 2, round 4. And Phoebe's making an appearance here again, second time now, Ron. But I have Rory and Shane as the number 1 ranked alternate shot team. Rory's driving ability and Shane Lowry's inability to mess up wedge shots from inside 150 is really grading out well for these two. Think about what Rory does, but they do both things very well for each other. And I think that's why they're grading out really well. And I think from what I'm seeing, they could potentially come in at half the ownership of Cantley and Xander. So I think they've got as good a chance to rival these two as the others. So kind of curious as to what your take is at the top of the board, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to be a little opposite this week. I am playing 20 lineups. Okay, I don't think this is a week. This event is typically very volatile. We saw last year, Nick Hardy and Davis Riley just come from nowhere and win. For me, it's a lock button time for Xander and Patrick Cantlay. So they will be in 100% of my lineups. I'll be mixing and matching. Like we talk about chemistry. I don't think there's probably not another pairing in the history of this event where you have two guys who have played so much high level golf together. Ryder Cup, they're best friends. They obviously won back here in 22. They finished 4th last year. They were 11th in 21. So, their history just goes back so far. I think they should have probably been closer to 12K. So I think 11-2, for me, it's, I know you're probably seeing something similar around 35% ownership in that range. So I'm locking them. Yeah. Yep. And my big thing with Rory and Shane is this type of event doesn't really, I know they played, together a lot. They're both Irishmen, but I worry about the putting. We saw Shane Lowry is just so horrible around the greens. I worry a little bit about their form, both of them coming in. And so I think for me, the fact that there is some pretty good value when we get into the 9K range, that I would rather start with Patrick and Xander and kind of dip down below them.
Yeah. I was just thinking the whole time you were saying that, Ron, and I'm just joking a little bit, yeah, but it's a very volatile event. So I'm going to lock in the chalkiest option available and go from there.
Except for them. They are not volatile. I think you'd agree with that. They're not volatile.
Yes, I do. All I'm hoping for is for Shane Lowry and Rory to beat them somehow. And then that way I've got $500 extra salary and the rest of my lineups can hang. I've got 150 lineups this week. Maybe I'll play 30 of Xander and Patrick and just see how it goes. But like you said, volatile. I've got some fun names down the bottom that I'll be looking to exploit. I'll be doing a lot of Rory McIlroy, a lot of Sahith Theegala and Will Zalatoris. Those two are my favorite in this 10K range. Ron, think about like this Frankenstein. I know we wanted to do a quick little show, but I can't take 30 seconds to chat about Sahith and Will Zalatoris. Sahith's driving the ball amazing. Will Zalatoris, one of the greatest long iron players on the planet. Sahith Theegala, one of the greatest putters when he gets streaky. This is a Frankenstein duo that's going to be very, very scary. Looking forward to see what they can get up to. And what's kind of crazy is the fact that Patrick Cantlay was the reason that that duo is kind of taking a hit. And he's putting. He's spike putting, Ron. Over the last 100 rounds, he's only gaining him 1.13 strokes. You know, like when you take a look at Sahith, 1.8. Take a look at Matt Fitzpatrick, 1.7. You know, Xander, 1.8. These guys are struggling to get to 2, but meanwhile, Patrick Cantley's just struggling to get to 1 from a spike putting perspective. So that's also another reason why I'm out on them this week, is he's just not bringing it to the party right now. Likely will in a team event. Let's see what happens in the 9s, Ron. Who have you got cooking up in the 9K range?
So I'm going to drop down here. I think both Canadian pairs are very playable, but my favorite one is definitely Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin. What are you saying for ownership? Because I'm seeing like around 12%, and that seems way too low for me.
I'm probably seeing 15, 17-ish. It makes a bit more. You know, that they came second, I think, 2 times already now, or at least just last year. So it's,
last year.
Yeah, very popular pairing, lots of upside. I can see it happening.
Yeah, so like I kind of put all the key stats together, and you know, for me, you know, when you get into comp courses, you know, courses that play similar to TPC Louisiana, obviously there's a bunch of Pete Dye courses that are similar, whether you're looking at, you know, the Pete Dye Stadium course, TPC River Highlands, you know, so they're third in my ranking for that this week. And then just overall, I think they're very underrated on approach. They're the 9th best approach team in this field. Both of them can putt. And so, again, this is a course where off the tee, it's a long course. And so I think people have this misconception that you're just banging drivers, but there's actually a lot of forced layups on this course. I know going back to when this was an individual event to 2016, there were only 11% of drives hit over 300 yards back then. And I know technology has increased that some, but still, I don't think this is a course where you're just bombing away. You do have some water hazards. And this is definitely a key approach course as far as your second shot goes. So, yeah, I love Hadwin and Taylor. And just right above them, I think, you know, when you look at Tom Hoge, Maverick McNeely, they're the 3rd best ranking team for me this week. And, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, Maverick McNeely, really good with the short game, around the green, putting, even off the tee. You know, when he doesn't have to hammer away, he's really solid off the tee. Yeah. And so what does that leave out? Well, that leaves out the thing that Tom Hoge is probably one of the best in the world, as we all know, on approach. And so, you know, I don't know how you see it with your numbers, but I think they have everything covered. And even when you look at Tom Hoge, how much he's improved with his putting recently, like gaining in 7 of his last 8 events. So I think that is a team that when you look at birdie or better percentages, they lead this field. They're even better than Schauffele and Cantlay in birdie or better. They're 5th from proximity 200 plus, which is a very key approach metric this week. So I love those two groups.
I bet Tom Hoge, Maverick McNeely to win this tournament. They rank 3rd behind Sahith and Rory's groups in alternate shot, because like you said, just to summarize real quick, this is a really nerdy part of the course. In the alternate shot situation, 3 of the par 3s are on odd holes, which means that somebody's going to be driving the ball 8 times. Somebody's going to be hitting 11 approaches. It's just a weird situation. A lot of those, the guy doing a lot of the approach shots is going to be from 175 and out. The guy doing a lot of the driving, his iron shots are going to be wedges mostly. And that's the beauty of the situation. Mav, good driver of the ball, great putter. Tom Hoge is going to be doing all 11 of those iron approach shots. If Tom Hoge is not teeing off on the odd holes, they've statistically messed up their pairing in alternate shot, according to my analysis. And I'm assuming you'd say the same too, Ron, based off, it's just obvious, you know, like this is an obvious ham and egg situation for them. And it's very exciting to see what that Frankenstein can do. The Nikolai Højgaard brothers grade out pretty well for me from a alternate shot perspective. I don't know how they're going to do in best ball. Rasmus is a wild card. Take it as it comes in that range. Any other favorites in the 9s before we get into the 8s, Ron?
I mean, the Højgaards, if Rasmus starts messing up, I mean, they both look alike. I mean, can you see Nikolai just playing every shot and nobody would know? If they dress the same, they probably could pull that off.
I've heard of them doing this at marathons where like Kenyan twins have like moved in, like waited in a bathroom stall, and out he comes just blitzing. Like all of a sudden his stats are just so much better after mile 20, you know, like crazy stuff have happened. So yeah, maybe Rasmus just plays all the golf and or Nikolai, and Rasmus just watches him. But that would be hilarious, Ron. They'd have to wear different clothes, right? Surely.
They probably need to make him wear different clothes. So
All right, chat to me about the 8s. Let's see what you've got going over here.
Yeah, so I'm my favorite by far. These guys rank 8th overall for me. Bo Hostler, Sam Ryder sitting there at 8,600. Interestingly, they've never played together. They've played this event the last 3 years. This is their first time ever partnering up. But each of them has had really good scores here. So like last year, Hostler finished 3rd. In 22, Ryder finished 3rd. So they've kind of alternated, good years. And so, when you look at the numbers, just really solid overall. If you're looking at, birdie or better percentage, they're the top 10 here. And when I look at par 5 birdie or better, which is another key stat here, you got 4 par 5s to take advantage from. Each of them is pretty reachable. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities there. We all know how good both guys are putting. And again, guys who, you would think maybe not as great on approach, but if you look back here over the last 12 months, they're positive approach. And so, I think they're a team when you combine that experience here at this course and just their overall stats. Love them. Probably my next favorite team, I'll drop down here to 8,100. Davis Thompson and Andrew Novak. I think, probably going to get some steam here. Everybody knows how good Andrew Novak's played recently. I think Davis Thompson, one of the best par 5 players on tour. So, they did pair up together last year. They both missed the cut, but I think the upside that this group presents, especially how good Novak has kind of come on this year, those would be kind of my top 2. And I don't mind when you go up a little bit here to, probably the most intriguing group to me is Taylor Montgomery and Ben Griffin. Like when I ran the putting numbers, okay, so they are first when you combine their averages together, they're gaining 1.58. The next best team putting is actually Tom Hogan and Maverick McNeely, and they're below 1. So there's just this huge gap where if those two get hot on the greens, who knows what could happen. So that's kind of a wild card for me is kind of seeing where their ownership falls. And I'm definitely going to make sure I get a piece of that team as well.
Yeah, between the two of them, their 75th percentile spike putting round over the last 100 would gain them 3.5 strokes per round total. And you'd have to go a long way to find two guys averaging 1.75. Very impressive short game from both those dudes. Funnily enough, they grade 7th overall for me. Very impressive pairing. Not one you would expect to kind of pop their head out, but they do. And I think that's an interesting set of names you mentioned there, Ron. One ranking behind them that I have is Keith Mitchell and Joel Damon. I think this is a very interesting combo as well. Keith driving, Joel Damon doing the long iron and letting Keith do the putting. I feel like those are two of Keith's main strengths. His iron game has come along quite nicely lately, but Joel's typically been a very good long iron player. I think Joel needs somebody like Keith. I love this vibes situation. Joel and Gino, they are a vibes kind of a guys group. I think Keith is definitely the guy that Joel would vibe well with. The ultimate pairing would be Joel and Gino playing in this tournament together. That would be, before Joel dies, I'd love to see Gino get one crack at a PGA Tour event. But I've actually bet them outright myself. Keith Mitchell and Joel Damon. We'll see what happens in that department. One or two other notable names before we get out that I'm a fan of is Aaron Ryan, David Lipsky. Also very under the radar. Two very complementary golfers of each other. One very good driver, one very good iron player, one much better putter than the other. So it's going to be fun to see what those guys can do. I don't mind Doug Kim and Chan Kim either before we get out the 8s. In the 7s, Ron, who on earth are you going to in this range? It's a massive range. We've got Eric Cole playing with his caddy's daddy. I've used that term once already this week. That is, in fact, the truth, though. I think Mr. Cochran, Russ Cochran, will be playing his 600 PGA Tour start this week. And it's Eric Cole's caddy's dad, I believe.
Yes, you got that right, and I am passing on that. I will look elsewhere. But yeah, this is where my bread's gonna get buttered because there's a whole lot of groups here. If I'm playing Xander and Patrick, this is where I'm gonna be dropping down a lot. And so I think if you look at just from the top of this range, Austin Eckrow, Chris Gotterup, both have played together a bunch in Oklahoma. Both really good friends. Their first time pairing up together here. But I think as good as Eckrow's been playing, Gotterup off the tee. Actually, both are just really good off the tee. So I think that's an interesting group with some upside. And then, yeah, I think you got some really underpriced teams here. I mean, Taylor Moore and Matt Neesmith sitting there at 7,700. They're kind of the course history darlings along with, Cantlay and Schauffele. But yeah, fourth here in back-to-back years. We all know Matt Neesmith is kind of he's always hit or miss on an individual basis. But again, if he can be the guy from, especially from approach here, I think, Taylor Moore, as good as he's been playing, I think it's a really good group. Probably my favorite one, at least in the upper part, is KH Lee and Michael Kim. Now, they played together back in 21, and they finished – actually, they did not play together, but they both finished top 30. Both of them have had a lot of experience in this event. And I look at their putting upside, and I look at their scoring upside. So they're really good. They're top 20, par 5 birdie or better percentage. And I just think they're really two high-quality scorers. So I really like them. They finished 15th overall. I don't think you can ignore Nick Hardy and Davis Riley, as bad as they've been playing overall individually. And I know that's a stretch, but I think you almost have to look past that when you get to a team event like this, because, as good, as they obviously came out of nowhere and won last year, they both played good in 22. So yeah, it's really tough when you look at their strokes gained total averages over even the last 30 rounds. Like, they're one of the worst in this field. So hopefully that might take their ownership down a little bit. But yeah, I like them. And just going to the bottom here, I also think Dylan Wu, Justin Lauer, they actually ranked out 12th for me. Yeah. I think two guys who, they played together here the last 2 years. They finished 10th and 22. And we've seen Justin Lauer just kind of tear it up recently. Like, he's taken it to a whole other level. And just really two guys who can score, who approach game. They're the 11th best on approach in this field. So I love them, and I'll round it out here. I think you got a group here sitting at 7,200. Alex Smalley, Matty Schmidt. Smalley's another guy who's been in horrible form, but kind of turned it around at Corrales last week, finishing in the top 5. And then Matty Schmidt is another one who's just been on a run here over the last couple months, just very consistent. Both of these guys are in the top 10 par 5 birdie or better, and also from 200 plus yards. So I really like them kind of as a value play at 7,200.
Let's go. It's kind of crazy. I've got Schmidt and Smalley kind of averaging each other out to like neutral, like in the middle of the pack from a overall power rating, individually. But if you put them as a team, they jump all the way into 19th spot for me. It's a really good combination of a squad there. And I like what they both do well. I'll second that with you. As we get out of the 7K range, I'll leave you with Vincent Norman and Hoya Campillo, $7,300. Two very interesting names there for me. And then Tristan Lawrence and Aldrich Potgieter. I've heard a lot of people say Potgieter. He's not a poltergeist. He's a Potgieter. And you got to roll with the G's there for the Potgieter. And that's where Aldrich is. So that is your South African Afrikaans lesson for the day. And thank you very much. So $7,100. Tristan and Aldrich for you to go there. In the sixes, Ron, this is the range you're going to have to find a few guys too if you're going to be playing an $11,200 Patrick Cantlay. Like you said, should have been 12. Would have made this range a lot more exciting. But this is the range with Eric Cole and Russ Cochran. So who are you pivoting off of for those two?
So there's one group here that I don't think they're going to be popular. But they have literally played this event every single time since it became a team event back in 2017, where they finished third in 2017. They finished 13th in 2019. They're two golfers who kind of individually have really struggled if you go back. But if you look at recently, okay, both of these guys have kind of really turned it on. And I'm talking about at 6,400, Kelly Craft and Kevin Tway. Now, I don't know what you see as far as, and I'll let you maybe discuss them as far as how they kind of come together with the numbers that you run. But when I look at, first of all, birdie or better percentage just kind of shocked me. They are the second best in this whole field. When I run the numbers in recent birdie or better percentage, and I'm talking about kind of going back here over the last 30 rounds. Okay. So I love these guys. And let's see, what else did I have on them? So, yeah, if you look at recently, okay, Kelly Craft has actually made 9 of his last 10 cuts individually. Kevin Tway just finished third at Corrales. And so love them. And I know the Cootie brothers are going to get some love here. right above them at 6,600. So I won't talk about them as much, but probably my other group that I'm focusing on, I think Justin Suh and Rico Hoy are really interesting. I think they're one of the few groups down here that have positive approach numbers. Birdie or better, they're in the top half of the field. They're also in the top 20 par 5 birdie or better percentage. Both, we've seen Justin Suh, kind of flash from time to time. As we all know, he tends to collapse on the weekend. But hopefully maybe in a team event like this, he can kind of rise above that. And Rico Hoy, he's a guy who's kind of popped in a few events here. And so, again, when you're down here, when you're looking for upside, those are probably a couple of the groups that I'll be playing a lot down here.
Yeah, I've got them 16th in the 4-ball ranking. It's like their volatility is through the roof, So love what we're seeing there. You'd ideally have Rico doing the driving. You'd have Justin struggling from 200 and out, but then kind of taking care of business once they get closer to the green. I think that's a bit more of their putting there, especially for Justin, doing his thing. So in the sixes for me, I don't mind Hayden Springer and Tom Whitney. They two Corn Ferry Tour guys who likely have played lots of golf together down on those tours. Love what they can get up to. They actually graded out exceptionally well. I think they Egg and ham it very well. So those are two guys I'll be looking at. JJ Spahn and Hayden Buckley. It doesn't make sense why the model loves them, but JJ Spahn's long iron numbers and Hayden Buckley's driving ability, I guess, is a very solid combination. And then you kind of leave the two of them to do their short game together. Ron, when you mentioned two guys having played together for a very long time, I thought you were going to mention Charlie Hoffman and Nick Watney. Also, I don't know. I think they've played this tournament together quite often. Put two old guys, especially Charlie. I mean, Steve Stricker and Matt Kuchar also playing together, but Matt Kuchar just hasn't been doing anything for me. Charlie Hoffman's been messing around. Give me a $6,200 golfer in a team event like this where Charlie can make some birdies. I don't mind the squad at all. They don't grade well for me at all, like in the model, but at $6,200, I'll take a chance on those two guys down there. Any other final names to get out of here with, Ron? There's some fun Ryan Brehm and Mark Hubbard pairings, maybe. They finally get to play together this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard. You have a lot of the Corn Ferry guys down here, and so some guys are going to get a chance here, like to if they can come and kind of do what Hardy and Riley did last year. Yeah, there's not a lot I'm going to be dipping down here with. I think there's other names that I'll probably have maybe around 5%. I think Robbie Shelton and Wilson Furr have some upside at 6,400 as well. And yeah, like you see guys like a Brandon Wu sitting there at 6,300, but you see some, James Nicholas has not played on the PGA Tour at all recently. And so you just have kind of some of these guys who are just, you wonder how they got paired together. And then you're just like, I can't play that. I cannot put money on that pairing. So yeah, I'm going to probably focus more on the 7K range. And as I lock those Xander and Cantlay Williamson.
Do you want to just do Rory Shane versus Xander Cantlay straight up? I know I'm on the wrong side of it there, but I'll take it for $1.
Well, let's pick a second team and let's combine them together. So let's pick. Let's go.
That makes so much sense.
Let's go below 8K. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. You go.
Below 8K.
Actually, let's make it interesting because there's some good names above 7.5. So let's go 7.5 and below.
I was about to say Kevin UCT Pan, so maybe you saved me from myself there. You know what? Let's go Dylan Wu and Justin Lower. I really like them. They grade out 15th for me in this range. Let's do it. I like their chances.
Yes, that's who I would have selected. But I'll go with Smalley and Schmidt. Those guys have a lot of if you look at recent form as far as last week for Smalley and then Schmidt going back. So I think they can make some noise down there this week.
Perfect. Cool. So Alex Smalley, Matthias Schmidt with Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele for Team Ron. For Team Buy, we've got Dylan Wu, Justin Lower, and the two Irish golfers, Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry. Neither can putt when it matters, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm hoping if Shane and Rory come in at half the ownership of Xander and Patrick, my job is done here, Ron. Like game theory, check. Whether or not performance happens, who the heck knows? We'll see what happens. Going to be a fun week. Have fun doing whatever you've been doing outside there, Ron. I know you look thrilled to be going back. I'm rocking the retro Ron outfit, the backwards hat and the t-shirt. So I'll be sitting inside for a little bit. I'll be golfing this afternoon. Guys, Ron's got you covered over at BetSperts. Go grab everything rabbit hole related down there. Is it the Vivid promo ends this month?
Yeah, so we've got till the end of this month, so you're looking at about 6 more days here. And again, if you cannot get Vivid, if you're not in one of those 24 states, just send me a DM, and I will get you a promo code where we can still get you a deal.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. You can catch me on X at The Model Maniac, where you can find all my stuff over there. It's going to be a fun week, Ron. Do you a few lineups? Did you have any outrights?
You know where I went. I just loaded everything on the top of the board. I got them at plus 500 when it first came out. So make it an easy week.
Easy week. Let's see how it goes. All righty. Guys, let's have a fun week. And don't forget to pivot your face off at the Zurich Classic.